I didn't notice her at first. It was loud inside the brewery, low ceilings, Edison bulbs, too many people crammed into a space meant for half. Someone from Jack's office was turning 40 and everyone acted like it was a coronation. A cake shaped like a whiskey barrel. A band doing acoustic 90s covers. People shouting over each other, pretending to love it. Jack stood near the back, laughing with a pint in one hand. The curve of his shoulders relaxed. I watched from the booth I'd claimed early, nursing a cider. He hadn't seen me yet. That was fine. I liked watching him like that. Off guard. Still mine. Then I saw her. Sophia. I'd met her twice. Maybe 3 times. She worked in compliance, or HR, or one of those departments that's always over-caffeinated and vaguely threatening. She wore red like it had something to prove. Her hair was down, long, shiny. She touched Jack's arm lightly when she said something, then laughed at her own joke, tipping her chin in that slow, self-aware way. Like she knew the light hit her just right when she did that. I don't know why it struck me. Maybe it was how close she stood. Or maybe it was how Jack looked at her when he laughed, head tilted, warm-eyed. I'd seen that look before. Years ago. When we first met. When I still made him laugh like that. I told myself not to be stupid. He loved me. God, he loved me. I knew that. He still brought me my favorite tea when I was working late. Still rubbed my shoulders when I complained about my boss. Still called me Em, not Emma, like I was his secret. His home. But I couldn't stop watching her. She leaned in, said something just for him. He smiled. Not the quick, polite kind. The real one. The one that crinkled his eyes. My throat tightened. Eventually Jack spotted me and waved like I was an afterthought. Not in a cruel way. Just distracted. Like he'd forgotten I was there. He motioned for me to come over, but I shook my head, smiling. He didn't press. I sipped my cider slowly. Tried not to feel ridiculous. Tried not to feel invisible. Sophia didn't look at me once. Later, when we were driving home, Jack hummed along to the radio. His window cracked. His hand resting easy on the gear shift. I waited for him to bring her up. He didn't. How's Sophia? I asked casual. He glanced over. Sophia? Oh. She's fine, I guess. Why? She seemed close tonight. He frowned a little. She's just friendly. You know how she is. I didn't. Not really. I looked out the window, let the city blur past in soft gold and gray. My reflection in the glass was pale. Tired. I wondered when that had happened. When I'd started looking like someone who could be passed over. She's just friendly. The word stuck. That night, lying in bed beside Jack, I stared at the ceiling, tracing the cracks in the plaster with my eyes. His breathing slowed beside me. Soft even. Trusting. I turned my face into the pillow. Tried to sleep. But in the dark, Sophia's smile stayed with me. The way she tilted her head. The way Jack looked at her like the rest of the room had vanished. I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself I believed it. And yet, somewhere deep in the quietest part of me, a seed was planted. Something small. Sharp. Waiting. The next morning felt off. Nothing was different, not really. Jack made coffee like he always did. Kissed me on the temple. Said, "You're beautiful, you know that?" in his sleep-rumpled voice. I smiled. Said thanks. But the words felt lighter than they used to. Like they were floating on top of something heavier unsaid. I watched him from across the kitchen. His hair still damp from the shower, his tie crooked. He was humming some song from last night, probably. Still thinking about the party. Still glowing from whatever private thrill he carried home. I stirred cream into my coffee and forced myself to ask, "So, did you have fun last night?" Jack glanced up. Yeah, it was nice. Good crowd. Kyle was over the moon. I think he cried a little when they brought out the cake. He chuckled, eyes soft with memory. I nodded slowly, sipping. A lot of people there. I don't think I knew half of them. He shrugged. Company's been hiring like crazy. You probably wouldn't. He didn't mention Sophia. Not once. That detail scraped against something tender in me. I didn't press. That whole week it stayed with me. Not a storm. Just a low, constant pressure. A hum behind everything. I started noticing things. A notification on his phone that made him smile faintly. A text from a Sophia M. that he answered quickly, thumbs moving fast across the screen before he turned it face down. His laughter in the next room while I was folding laundry. The door closing gently like he didn't want me to hear. I told myself to stop. We were fine. We were good. I wasn't the kind of woman who checked phones or followed her husband around the house with a magnifying glass. I trusted him. I did. But trust, I was learning, had a quiet weight. And once you started carrying it, every step felt a little harder. On Friday, I dropped by his office downtown. I used to do it sometimes, bring him lunch, surprise him. He always acted so pleased. Said I was the best part of his day. But this time, when I texted him from the lobby, his reply came fast and clipped. "Hey babe. In meetings. Can't talk. Can I call you later?" I stared at the screen. Behind the reception desk, a woman with a headset and tight ponytail smiled politely, clearly waiting for me to leave. I nodded to her, tucked my phone back into my bag, and stepped outside into the bright spring air. My heart was pounding. I didn't know why. He had meetings. It made sense. It was logical. Rational. But I still felt like I'd shown up to something I wasn't invited to. Like I'd crossed into a place that no longer belonged to me. I walked 3 blocks before I realized I was crying. Not sobbing. Just slow, quiet tears tracking down my cheeks like they had somewhere to be. I sat on a bench near the river, phone in hand, watching ducks drift past on the water. A group of school kids ran by, laughing, and I flinched at the sound. My whole body felt raw. Like my skin had been peeled back just enough for the wind to hurt. I scrolled to Sophia's LinkedIn page. I'd looked her up before. Just once. She was smart. Ambitious. Confident. Everything sharp and polished. The kind of woman who makes you want to sit up straighter. The kind of woman who laughs like she's already won. Her profile photo was a little too perfect. I hated that I noticed. I hated that I cared. And I hated more than anything that this creeping dread had taken root inside me. Quiet, slow. Just enough to make me wonder if something was already being taken away, and I'd missed the moment it began. When I got home that night, Jack was already there. He greeted me with a kiss. Asked if I wanted wine. Pulled pasta from the fridge like nothing in the world had shifted. Maybe it hadn't. But something in me had. I smiled and said yes. And inside I felt the tiniest crack begin to widen. That Saturday I cleaned the house like something was chasing me. I vacuumed under the couch cushions, scrubbed baseboards, rearranged the pantry. I told myself it was spring cleaning. A late burst of energy. But deep down I knew I was trying to quiet the noise in my head. To do anything that felt solid, controllable, mine. Jack was in the garage, fixing something with the car. He kept the door open, music playing low. Every so often I'd catch a glimpse of him through the window, his hands steady, grease on his fingers. And for a moment I'd forget the way I felt. But it never lasted. At some point I found an old photo album. I hadn't meant to. It just slipped off the top shelf in the closet while I was looking for extra light bulbs. The cover was worn, the edges fraying. Our life before smartphones. I sat on the bedroom floor, knees pulled up to my chest, and flipped through it slowly. Honeymoon pictures. Jack with sunburned shoulders and squinting eyes, holding my hand on the beach. Our first apartment. The tiny Christmas tree on the windowsill. My laugh froze in mid-movement in a blurry photo he'd taken when I wasn't looking. God, we've been so young. And stupid. And in love in that loud, hungry way that feels like a wildfire. I touched the corner of a photo of us at a friend's wedding, me in a navy dress, Jack in a wrinkled suit, our foreheads touching. I remembered how drunk we were that night. How he'd whispered that I was the most beautiful woman in the room, even when my mascara had melted down my face. I believed him then. With my whole heart. Now, I wasn't so sure. Later that night, Jack handed me his phone to show me a video of something, a viral thing from work, inside joke. I barely laughed. But my eyes caught something when he turned the screen toward me. A message preview. Just a flash. Sophia M. Haha, stop smirking face, you're terrible. It was nothing. It could have been nothing. But my stomach dropped. My throat went dry. And he didn't notice. He took the phone back, chuckling softly, swiping away the thread as if it didn't matter. And maybe it didn't. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe they were just work friends who bantered too much, flirted too easily, blurred the line in a way that still stayed on the right side of wrong. But I couldn't stop thinking about that emoji. That smirk. That message she felt safe enough to send, so sure he wouldn't be offended. Or worse, that he'd welcome it. That night I lay in bed wide awake while Jack slept, one hand resting against my back like always. Like we were still us. I stared at the ceiling fan, blinking slowly. My chest tight. My breath shallow. I wasn't angry. Not yet. What I felt was worse, like I was slowly slipping out of the photograph. Out of the frame of our life. and no one had noticed. Monday came like it always did. Alarms. Shower steam. Toast half burned because I was thinking too hard. Jack kissed my cheek on his way out the door. Said, "Have a good one, Em." Same words as always. Same smile. But I didn't feel the same. Not anymore. The message from Sophia looped in my mind, like a song I couldn't turn off. Haha, stop smirking face, you're terrible. It played when I folded laundry. When I picked up milk. When I sat in traffic at a red light so long I forgot where I was going. I tried to shake it off. Tried to tell myself it was nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. It felt like the start of something I wasn't invited to understand. That evening, Jack came home tired. Work had been long. He dropped his bag by the door, shoes still on, and collapsed onto the couch like the day had flattened him. I watched from the kitchen as he scrolled his phone, his thumb moving fast. I couldn't tell if he was texting or reading. But I knew who I imagined on the other end. "Rough day?" I asked, trying not to sound like I was weighing every syllable. He nodded without looking up. "Meetings. Numbers." Sophia wouldn't stop joking about how much coffee I drink. "I think I'm personally keeping Starbucks in business." I froze. It was the first time he'd said her name in days. "Oh," I said. "She's funny, huh?" Jack glanced up. "She's just got that dry sense of humor. Keeps people from losing it during audits." I nodded, eyes on the cutting board. I was slicing cucumbers. My fingers moved faster than they should have. The knife slipped. Just a little. Enough to nick the skin. Jack jumped up. "Emma, shit, are you okay?" "It's nothing." I grabbed a paper towel, wrapping my finger tightly, more embarrassed than hurt. "You sure?" He reached for my hand, concerned. I pulled it away before he could touch it. He hesitated. I kept my eyes down. "Just a stupid cut." He hovered for a second, like he wanted to say more, then gave up. Walked back to the couch. Silence fell between us, light but heavy. Like dust that never gets cleaned. Later, I sat on the edge of the bed, brushing my hair. Jack was already under the covers, watching something on his laptop, laughing softly. I didn't ask what. Didn't want to know. "Hey," I said, careful not to sound too careful. "Do you think people at work ever misread things?" He paused. "What do you mean?" "I don't know." I shrugged. "Like, getting too close. Maybe crossing a line." Jack blinked. "You mean like an HR thing? Or marriage thing?" He shut his laptop slowly. "Is this about something specific?" I looked at him. Really looked. His eyes were tired but not defensive. Not guilty. Just puzzled. "No," I lied. "Just wondering." Jack sat up straighter. "Emma, is something going on?" I shook my head. "Forget it. It's late." He didn't push. He just reached out, brushing his fingers against my arm like he was trying to find the right place to land. But I was already pulling away, slipping under the blanket, curling toward the wall. He sighed behind me. "I love you, Em," he said quietly. I closed my eyes and wished I could believe that it was still enough. The next morning I found the email. I wasn't looking for it. I was trying to print something, an old insurance form for the car, and Jack's inbox was still open on the shared desktop. He rarely logged out. I'd never thought twice about it. Until now. The subject line was harmless. "Friday night, Sophia M." It was from 2 days ago. Sent late. Almost midnight. I stared at it for a long time before I clicked. "Hey Jack. Just wanted to say thanks again for the help with the McKinley audit. I probably would have drowned without you. You're the only one who gets my weird brain, lol. Anyway, a few of us are going to grab drinks Friday, nothing formal, just unwinding. You should come. If Emma wants to join, of course she's welcome, winking face. But I figured it might be easier to actually talk if it's just us. No pressure. Sophia." The screen blurred a little as my pulse rose. "If it's just us." I reread that part over and over. The sentence had a rhythm, a softness pretending to be casual. But I knew better. Women know when they're being circled. When something that doesn't belong to someone is being quietly tested for weakness. And I hated that part of me, the oldest part, the insecure part, felt like it had just failed some unspoken test. I closed the email. Logged out. Turned off the monitor with a shaking hand. That night, over dinner, Jack mentioned it like it was an afterthought. Some of the team might grab drinks Friday. Just casual. I haven't decided yet. I nodded slowly. You thinking of going? Maybe. Sophia's organizing it. I waited. He didn't offer more. You think she likes you? I asked suddenly, surprising even myself. Jack looked up, his fork halfway to his mouth. What? Sophia. You think she's into you? He frowned. Where's this coming from? I folded my napkin slowly, smoothing it with both hands. She sent you an email. Said it'd be easier to talk if it's just the two of you. His expression changed. Not fear. Not guilt. Just discomfort. You read my email? It was open. I wasn't snooping. It was just there. He pushed his plate away slightly, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Emma, it's not what you think. Sophia flirts with everyone. That's just her personality. She's not a god, she's not interested in me like that. And I wouldn't. I didn't say you would, I said, sharper than I meant to. Silence dropped between us. Heavy. Final. I looked at him, really looked, and realized something awful. He wasn't lying. But he wasn't telling the truth either. Not the full truth. Not the kind that lives in glances and pauses and choices. Jack exhaled, softer this time. I should have told you. About the drinks. About the email. I just didn't want to make you feel weird. Too late, I whispered. He reached for my hand. M.A. I'm fine, I said, pulling back. Really? Go if you want. It's your office, your people. I trust you. I did. Or I used to. Now I wasn't sure if I trusted him or just didn't want to know what it would mean if I didn't. Friday came too fast. I stood by the front window after he left, watching his car back out of the driveway, brake lights glowing red in the fading dusk. He hadn't asked me to come. Not really. And I hadn't offered. I watched the taillights vanish and I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was stronger than this. But somewhere inside, something had started to break. Not loud. Just steady. Like a quiet drip from a ceiling that used to feel solid. He came home late. Not drunk. Not messy. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that says I had a good time and I don't know how to tell you that. He kissed my cheek, said, "You're up late." I shrugged, watching him from the couch. The TV was on but muted. Some sitcom we'd both loved once, back when our laughs overlapped. Did you have fun? He nodded, kicking off his shoes. It was fine. Everyone was there. Kyle, Jenna, even Mark from IT. Sophia made a big deal out of paying for the first round. He didn't look at me as he said her name. I nodded too. He went upstairs to shower. I stayed on the couch, listening to the soft thud of his steps, the click of the bathroom door. I knew I wouldn't sleep. Not that night. Maybe not for a while. The next day I told myself I'd let it go. Pretend it was fine. Smile through it. But then the message came. From Sophia. She found me on Instagram. I hadn't even known my profile was public. Her message was short. Casual. Like we were old friends. Hey Emma. Just wanted to say it was so nice seeing Jack last night. He mentioned you might come but had other plans. Hopefully next time, smiling face with smiling eyes. I stared at the screen, heart thudding. He'd said I might come? That wasn't true. We hadn't even talked about it. Not after dinner. Not in the car. Not at all. The lie was small. So small. But it caught like a splinter under the skin, impossible to ignore. Thanks. I'll try to make the next one, I replied, fingers colder than they should have been. She was online. Read it right away. Then 3 dots appeared. Typing. Stopped. Typing again. You two are so cute together, BTW. He talks about you all the time, smiling face with hearts. It should have felt kind. Should have settled something. But instead, it rang false, too neat, too easy. Something about the way she said it. The way she made it sound like I was the one on the outside, not her. I didn't respond. I sat with my phone in my lap for a long time, staring at the blank reply field. The weight of everything, the email, the message, the party, his face that night, it pressed down on me until I had to move or scream. I ended up at a park 2 miles from home. Somewhere with benches and trees and a duck pond I used to visit when we first moved here. Before we were married. Before Jack got the promotion. Before things became easy and complicated at the same time. I sat on the edge of the fountain and watched a little boy chase a paper airplane. He laughed as it tumbled. No one else around seemed to notice him. But I watched him like he was the only real thing in the world. I thought about how simple that kind of joy used to be. How easy it was to know what you wanted. And how hard it was now to admit you might have lost it without realizing. By the time I came home, the sun had dipped low. Jack was in the kitchen, setting the table like nothing was wrong. He smiled when he saw me. You okay? I nodded. Just needed air. He kissed my forehead and handed me a glass of wine. I missed you last night. I looked at him. I wanted to say, did you? Instead, I just smiled. I missed you too. And I did. But that didn't make the doubt go away. It just made it hurt more. The invitation came the following week. Another coworker's birthday, this time more low-key, at a local wine bar. I assumed Jack would go without me. Lately he'd stopped asking. I had stopped saying yes. But this time he looked up from his phone at dinner and said, "Sophia said she hopes you'll come." I blinked. She said that. Jack shrugged. "She likes you. Says she wants to get to know you better." My stomach twisted, but I smiled. "Sure. I'll come." I needed to see her again. In person. I needed to know if what I felt was real or just something I'd invented in the quiet. The wine bar was dim, all deep leather chairs and flickering candles on reclaimed wood tables. Sophia was already there when we arrived, laughing at something the bartender said, her hand curled around a glass of white. She turned when she saw us. Smiled wide. "Emma, I'm so glad you came." Her hug surprised me. Warm, loose, like we'd been close once and just forgot. "You look amazing," she said, stepping back. "I love your dress." "Thanks," I said, but my voice sounded too even. Polished. Like I'd rehearsed it. She turned to Jack, touched his elbow lightly, and made a joke about something from the office. He laughed, and for a moment it was like I wasn't there. Just for a second. But I felt it. The flicker of something unspoken, familiar between them. A language I wasn't fluent in. The night passed in small talk and clinking glasses. I stayed close but not too close, laughing when I had to, nodding through long-winded stories I didn't care about. Jack was good at parties, hands on backs, smiles in all directions. He made everyone feel like they mattered. At one point, I noticed Sophia looking at me. Just looking. Not smiling. Not pretending. Just watching. Like she was trying to decide something. Later in the bathroom, she came in behind me. We were the only ones there. I was fixing my lipstick in the mirror. She leaned against the counter, sipping her wine. "You and Jack seem solid," she said suddenly, like it had been on her mind. I kept my eyes on the mirror. "We've been together a long time." "Yeah. You can tell." I turned to her. Her smile was still there, but softer now. Quieter. "Why do you ask?" She shrugged. "I don't know. I guess I just wondered what that's like. Being with someone who still looks at you the way he does." My stomach went cold. "How does he look at me?" Sophia took a sip of her wine. "Like you're the one thing in the room he's sure of." I searched her face. There was no malice. No smirk. Just this strange, brittle honesty. Like she was telling me something she didn't want to admit. "And you?" I asked. My voice felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. "How do you look at him?" Sophia didn't answer right away. Just stared into her glass, like it might say the thing she couldn't. Finally, she whispered, like "I wish I had what you do." There it was. Not a confession. Not exactly. But close. Too close. When we returned to the table, Jack was laughing with another colleague. He looked up when he saw me, smiling the way he always did. But it felt different now. Like something fragile had just been passed between Sophia and me. And neither of us knew what to do with it. I sat beside him, rested my hand on his knee under the table. He didn't flinch. He covered it with his own. Warm. Familiar. But I could still feel Sophia's words echoing in the space between us. "Like you're the one thing in the room he's sure of." And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't sure if that was true. I only knew that she wanted it to be. The night after the party, I couldn't sleep. Jack was out cold beside me, breathing steady, his arm stretched across the bed like it always was. But I stayed on my side, eyes open, staring at the shadow of the ceiling fan moving slowly overhead. Sophia's voice wouldn't leave me. "Like I wish I had what you do." I didn't know whether it was a compliment or warning. Maybe both. She hadn't said she wanted Jack. Not directly. But there was something in the way she looked at me, at him, that felt unfinished. Open-ended. And Jack, God, Jack? He hadn't pulled away from her. Not really. Maybe not at all. He hadn't lied about their closeness, but he hadn't been honest either. He let it sit in the space between us, hoping I'd be the one to name it. To let it slide. To be the bigger person. I wasn't sure I could anymore. The next morning was cold and bright, the kind of morning where everything looks too clear. Jack was in the shower and I was still in bed, scrolling through my phone without seeing anything. Until another message came. "Sophia. Hey. I hope I didn't overstep last night. I was maybe a little too honest. I admire you, Emma." That's all I meant. My chest tightened. Admire. It felt like a cover. A sheet she was pulling up over something much messier. Something that couldn't stay hidden much longer. I stared at the message for a long time before I wrote back. We should talk. No emoji. No warmth. Just the truth. The dots danced immediately. Okay. When? Today. If you're free. We met at a cafe halfway between my house and the office. I picked it on purpose. Public but quiet. A place where you couldn't raise your voice without feeling embarrassed. She arrived first. Was already sitting when I walked in. Gray sweater, hair tied back, sunglasses on the table. She looked tired. Beautiful still but drawn. When she saw me, she smiled cautiously. Emma. I nodded. Sat down. Took a breath I didn't feel. Thanks for coming, she said. I didn't say anything. Just waited. Sophia folded her hands in front of her, then unfolded them. I feel like I need to explain myself. You do, I said flatly. She looked down at her hands. I didn't mean for things to get weird between Jack and me. Just happened. He's easy to talk to. He listens. He makes people feel seen. He makes you feel seen, I corrected. Sophia met my eyes. Didn't flinch. Yes. The honesty hit harder than any lie would have. Have you crossed a line? She hesitated. No. Not physically. Not officially. But I think about it sometimes. I won't lie. The air around us went still. The sound of spoons against cups. Conversations at other tables all faded. Does he know? I asked, my voice thin. Sophia shook her head. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe. Men know when they're admired. They just don't always admit it. I looked down at my coffee untouched. So what is this then? I whispered. Flirting? Games? Are you trying to take him from me? Her face softened. No. I'm not trying to take him. I just... She paused, struggling. I got lost somewhere in my life, Emma. And he showed up in that space. I'm not proud of it. But it's the truth. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. Then I leaned forward, voice low, steady. Here's my truth, Sophia. I've been with Jack for almost 15 years. Through layoffs, funerals, our son's diagnosis, the things that quietly break people. I've earned every wrinkle on my face, every gray in my hair. And I've stayed. Chosen him again and again, even when he stopped choosing me. Sophia's eyes welled. She didn't look away. I kept going. I don't hate you. I don't even blame you. But I see you. I see exactly what this is. And I'm done pretending I don't. She swallowed. What are you going to do? I stood, wrapping my scarf around my neck with fingers that didn't quite shake. I'm going to find out if my husband still wants this marriage, I said. And if he doesn't, then I'll decide what I want. Sophia nodded slowly. There was something like respect in her eyes. Maybe regret. I'm sorry, she whispered. I turned to leave. I know, I said. And I did. But that didn't mean I could forgive her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. When I got home, Jack was in the yard raking the last of the leaves. His sweatshirt was damp with sweat, his face flushed from the cold. He looked up and smiled like nothing had changed. But everything had. I watched him for a while through the window, wondering how much he really knew. How much he chose not to. If he felt it too, that quiet shift in the air between us. The way my silences had grown longer. The way his touch lingered less. When he came inside, I was waiting. He kicked off his boots by the door. You were out. I nodded. Coffee. With who? There it was. That pause. That quick scan of my face for clues. I held his gaze. Sophia. He didn't move. Didn't blink. You what? I asked her to meet. I wanted to talk. He looked stunned, like I'd thrown something at him, and he hadn't decided whether to catch it or let it hit him. Why would you do that? I laughed softly. Not because it was funny. Because it was too late for anything else. Because I needed to see the person you've been slowly inviting into the spaces I used to live in. He opened his mouth. Closed it. She told me everything, I added. Everything? He asked too fast. I tilted my head. There's more. He stepped back. Rubbed the back of his neck like the weight of all his decisions had just landed there. We didn't, he started. Emma, I never cheated. I didn't touch her. I didn't even say anything inappropriate. I nodded. But you let her think she could matter to you more than I do. You gave her pieces of you. The best parts. The soft parts. And you let me sit across from you for weeks pretending not to notice. He sat down slowly at the kitchen table like his knees had given out. I didn't mean to. But you did. I stood for a while just watching him. I'm not asking if you had an affair, Jack. I'm asking something harder. He looked up at me then. His eyes red. Barely breathing. Do you still want this marriage? The question echoed between us. He didn't answer at first. Just stared down at his hands. The ones I used to hold when I was scared. When I was sick. When I was sure he was the only thing in the world that made sense. Now those same hands looked like they belonged to someone else. Finally he spoke. I don't know. Broke me open. Not because it was cruel. Because it was true. That night we slept in the same bed, backs to each other. The air between us colder than it had ever been. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just lay there wide awake, holding onto the edge of the mattress like it was the only thing keeping me from disappearing. It took 3 days for him to speak the words. 3 days of silence over breakfast, polite nods in the hallway, dishes clinking too loud in the sink. We moved around each other like strangers wearing the same clothes, sharing the same air. Not touching. Not reaching. I didn't ask again. I'd already asked the hardest question I'd ever asked him. And he said I don't know. That should have been the end. But I wasn't ready for the end. Not yet. On the 4th night I came home late. I'd gone for a drive. No destination. Just needed to be somewhere that wasn't here. The radio was off. The windows cracked. I let the cold slip in. When I walked through the door the house was quiet, but not empty. Jack was in the living room sitting on the couch, his elbows on his knees. He looked up when I entered. His eyes were raw. Tired. I've been thinking, he said. I dropped my purse by the chair, stood in the doorway. About what? He swallowed. About what you asked. If I still want this. I didn't move. I didn't say yes because I was scared, he continued. Not because I didn't love you, but because I knew I'd let something in, something small at first. But it grew. And I didn't stop it. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling. I don't want Sophia, he said softly. I don't think I ever really did. I just wanted to feel seen again. Noticed. Like I still mattered. That gutted me. Do you think I didn't want that too? I whispered. He looked up at me and for the first time in weeks I saw it. The part of him that used to write me love notes on the back of receipts. The man who cried in the delivery room when our son was born. Who held my hair when I was sick. Who used to say my name like it tasted good in his mouth. I forgot how to look at you, he said. And I let her look at me instead. Tears burned in my throat, but I didn't let them fall. Not yet. He stood. Came toward me slowly like I might run. I want this, Emma. I want us. I want to do the work. If you still do. I stared at him. Let the silence stretch. I don't want to be someone's second thought, I said. Or someone you come home to just because you're too tired to be alone. He nodded. You're not. You never were. We stood there inches apart. Years between us. Grief between us. Love between us too, some of it old, some of it new, none of it simple. I took a breath. And I said the only thing I could. Then let's start over. His face broke, like something in him had been holding its breath. He reached for me. I let him. His arms around me weren't perfect. They weren't the arms of a man who had never hurt me. But they were still his. And mine. And real. And I held on. We went to therapy. We said the hard things. The things we buried under laundry and mortgages and goodnight kisses. We fought. We sat in the driveway some nights just to cry where the kids couldn't hear. We undid patterns. We made new ones. And slowly, painfully, we found our way back. Not to who we used to be, but to who we still were. Sometimes I still think about Sophia. Not in anger. Not anymore. I think she showed me the edge of something I was too afraid to look at. I think she reminded me how easy it is to drift. To vanish inside your own life. But she didn't destroy us. We did that, almost. And we rebuilt it too. One night, months later, Jack and I sat on the porch. The sky was pink with sunset. My head rested on his shoulder. He whispered, "Thank you for staying." And I whispered back, "Thank you for choosing me again." And this time I believed him. This time we both did.